Welcome to Reformed Thinking. Today we're going to get into a story about some people who are often behind the scenes yet are absolutely essential to the work of Christian missions. It's really an account of quiet, consistent service.
And it all started with this one simple question. Picture this. You're at a missions conference, standing in the lunch line, and an older couple just strikes up a conversation. A small moment that actually sparked a relationship that would go on for decades.
Yeah, and that older couple was Archie and Grace McCaskell, who are farmers from up in Saskatchewan. The two young people they started talking to were Hans Elgby and Wendy, who would later become his wife. As soon as the Elgbys mentioned they were hoping to serve overseas, the McCaskells just knew they wanted to support them. And this is really where the McCaskells found their role. Years later, Hans Elgby would look back and call them his prayer warriors and rope holders. Now, that term, rope holder, is really specific. It's not just a nice phrase, it has a lot of meaning packed into it. Right, so what does it mean to be a rope holder? It's not just some casual nickname. It points to a real, active function that has its origins in both the Bible and in the history of modern missions. You can see it coming from two main sources. The first is right out of the book of Acts, when the Apostle Paul's friends literally held the ropes to lower him in a basket over a city wall to escape his enemies. Then the second source comes from William Carey, who many call the father of modern missions. Carey painted such a clear picture with this. He compared missions work to going down into a deep, dark mine to look for treasure. He said, look, I'm willing to go down into the mine, but I am totally dependent on the people standing up at the top holding that rope for me. So you can see being a rope holder is a very active, very necessary role. And for the McCaskells, this wasn't something they just decided to start doing out of the blue. It was a part of their character that had been formed over a lifetime of being faithful.
You know, their life was not an easy one. During World War II, Archie was overseas, away from Grace and their newborn son. Later, on the farm, they faced incredible isolation. One year, the winter was so bad they didn't see a single visitor from Christmas all the way until March. And through all of that, they stayed dedicated to their local church. And that character showed itself in really practical ways. They prayed all the time for the Elgbys, they supported them financially, they would open up their home to them, and even line up places for them to speak, all while they kept learning themselves by taking Bible courses through the mail. And this was all a very conscious choice on their part. In fact, Hans Elgby read this verse from Psalm 119 at Archie's funeral because it just so perfectly summed up how the McCaskells lived. They chose the way of faithfulness. So the story of the McCaskells is really more than just a heartwarming tale about a nice couple. It's a pattern for all of us. Their legacy is one of quiet faithfulness that really did produce genuine fruit. Hans Elgby tells this story about visiting Archie in the hospital near the end of his life and just seeing a man who was finishing well, full of peace. And when you hear that, it just makes you ask, all right, what can we learn from a life like that? How do we become rope holders for the gospel in our own day? Well, the big lesson from their lives is that it's not about doing some huge, spectacular thing. It's about being steady in the ordinary, core disciplines of the Christian life, being faithful in prayer, being faithful in studying the Bible, showing hospitality to others, and being faithful in giving.
It's these simple disciplines that make it possible for anyone to become a rope holder. And the whole idea behind their life of service is really captured in this little rhyme they knew.
Only one life, 'twill soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. That saying really gets to the heart of the McCaskells' life. And it's a calling for every believer, isn't it? The things that are done in quiet faithfulness for Christ are the things that are going to remain.
It's a great thought to leave with. Thanks for joining us on Reformed Thinking.